A brand new report on The Batman Part 2 is suggesting that the second film will go after the Batman No Man's Land story and take that story and adopt it into the film. And it looks like we know exactly why this is now the prominent theory and rumor that's surrounding the sequel. So let's talk about Penguin. The Batman Part 2 is close to 2 years away, so we got a long haul to go before we see it. But the clues in what the film might be about seem to be all over Penguin, at least if we are to believe the reports. So recently, insiders and scoopers reported that they've chosen to do No Man's Land. That's going to be the story that they tell in the sequel, at least in part. In the comics, the whole idea of No Man's Land is that Gotham is hit with a giant earthquake, and this follows the aftershock of it, which results in the US government officially evacuating Gotham, and it's sort of abandoned and isolated, and it can't really be fixed, so it's deemed No Man's Land. And here, crime and everything runs rampant. Batman's obviously at the center of it, and that's more or less the basics of the story. It's been adapted into like an audiobook as well by directly like translating it over, and that certainly got the story more noticed by people. So yeah, it's interesting. And while we don't know exactly why they would be going in this direction, because if the whole idea is to do No Man's Land after the Batman, well, wouldn't we have that in like the Penguin? Enter where I think scoopers got this, because in the second episode of Penguin, while they're talking about what's going on, and we have Sophia talking about what's going on out there, and they're talking about Gotham and some of the devastation and some of the living places around Gotham that have essentially been ruined, they mention that Crown Point is now called No Man's Land. And I'm just going to go on a limb and say that scoopers are using this one name drop as their source to why they think it's going to be No Man's Land. And sure, maybe by the end of Penguin, it's going to be like a year before we get to the Batman Part 2 or whatever time jump they do. Maybe suddenly in that time jump, maybe there is an earthquake that hits Gotham and suddenly major part of it is No Man's Land. But I just don't know if they're going to go down that route, because if we're doing another disaster hits Gotham after a man-made one, it's kind of like, okay, we're going to repeat a lot of the same stuff. Oh, Gotham's crumbled again. Needs to be fixed. I'm still sticking with Court of Owls, leaning into that. I mean, we'll see. No Man's Land would certainly be interesting, but for a second film, I don't know. And anyways, wouldn't No Man's Land kind of also be like The Dark Knight Rises? They kind of did the same thing. So do we really want to repeat what Nolan did?